Monstrous Infantry, the beasts of the battlefield that typically excel at smashing regular infantry. But how well do they stack up against each other, and who is the best? That's what we're going to look to find out here, and the main test is going to include Regiments of Renown, but we'll also do a top 5 of non-Regiments of Renown at the end, as well as a few other miscellaneous tests. Now, while the main point of this video is to find out which Monstrous Infantry can beat all other Monstrous Infantry, do understand this is by no means any form of fair testing, because some units are designed for taking out other monsters, some are designed for taking out infantry, so there's not really a fair way to do this, nor does it really matter, because it's going to be incredibly rare that you get clean one-on-one matchups anyway in the middle of a battle. Hopefully though, what you can take away from this is learning the units. You'll be able to learn the Monstrous Infantries and learn where they rank in terms of how tough they are and what they may be capable of. So the testing itself will be as per usual, a best of 5 between 5 units on the battlefield. If it's a close one, we'll go again until we find a definitive winner. We are going to do things a little bit differently with this one though, as we are going to try and use units a bit more how they should be used on the battlefield. For example, Stone Trolls will get to use War if they get it. If a unit has a charge defense or a ranged attack, they'll be allowed to use it, hopefully giving us a little bit more of an accurate simulation to what may happen on the battlefield. So allow me to introduce the units that are going to be in the running, but do remember that not all factions have a Monstrous Infantry, so some simply won't be included. Now in faction alphabetical order, here we go. First up, for the Beastmen, the Butchers of Kalkengard. Armor-piercing, frenzied and regenerating Minotaurs with shields. For the Greenskins, it's the Stone Trolls. They were able to outperform the Swamp Things, who are slightly more expensive, but only just. They hit hard, but do they have the staying power to stand up to the other monsters? And for your scaly friends, it's the Cohort of Huatal, or Huatl, or Huatal. I don't know how to fucking say it. Stupid lizards. Anyway, they're the Regiment of Renown Sacred Croxagores. They hit hard with a lot of armor-piercing damage. They've got armor sundering and magical attacks. What can they do? For the Norskins, it's the Mist Stalkers. They have Vanguard deployment and Stalk, which isn't much use in these tests, but they're heavy hitters and they're pretty tough. Not to mention the armor sundering, and were able to defeat the other Norscan Fimir warriors, even the anti-large ones. And for the sneaky rats, it's the not so sneaky Rat Ogres. They are one of the cheapest units in the competition, and are pretty ill protected in terms of defenses, so it's no doubt they're going to struggle against a lot of opponents, but will they be able to stave off being at the very bottom? To the Tomb Kings and the Eyes of the Desert, the Regiment of Renown Sepulchral Stalkers. This unit will have 2 big advantages. Number 1, a ranged attack. Number 2, a charge defense. So it's going to nullify some of the effectiveness of other monstrous infantries. Will this help it outperform units that it probably shouldn't beat? For the Vampirates, it's the Rotting Prometheans Regiment of Renown, the Lampreys Revenge. And they also have a missile ranged attack. So they'll have double damage going on. They'll have the power of melee and the power of missile. Will that be enough to help them bring down tougher opponents? And to the Vampire Counts, with one of the units that's been around since the dawn of Total War Warhammer, the Crypt Horrors. Another one of the cheapest units in the competition. They do have the luxury of being undead, if you can consider that a luxury, which may help them not run away from fights that they would otherwise lose, which could be useful in this kind of testing. And from one of the cheapest units to one of the most expensive, with the Summoners of Rage, Regiment of Renown Dragon Ogres. They're anti-large, they hit very hard, they're very tough. Will anybody be able to stop them? Maybe the Firebark Elders can do it for the Wood Elves, but probably not. They're more of a defensive unit, more about holding the line. They have that fire defense as well, which honestly probably isn't going to come in too much use here, but we'll see what they can do against the other monstrous infantries. So those are the big boys coming to play. We'll mark up the wins and losses on this here graph so you can check out who beats who if we don't go into detail on all of them. We're going to break this up into the bottom 4 units, the mid 3 units, and then the top 3. So first up, we have the 2 cheapest units in the competition. Whoa, there's a comedy cartoon dive in and exit from that rat ogre there. That is definitely how rat ogres sound. Now both of these units cost 800 each, so that's the 2 cheapest units in the competition, and by a reasonable margin as well. The next units above them cost 1100, so a fairly big jump between the cost difference of the units. And it looks like the Rat Ogres are pulling ahead here against the Crypt Horrors. But one thing we do have to remember is that the Crypt Horrors won't rout and run away. So they're probably going to last longer than Rat Ogres normally would. And Rat Ogres, being Skaven, don't have great leadership. So maybe the Crypt Horrors will be able to outlast them in that respect. And Rat Ogres do actually look considerably smaller than Crypt Horrors. I always thought they'd be about the same size. Crypt Horrors crumbling. Not sure they have the damage output. Maybe the Rat Ogres are a bit better in that department. Crypt Horrors do have poison though, which does certainly help them out. Rat Ogres breaking here. One for the Crypt Horrors. One for the Crypt Horrors. Maybe two here. Although these Crypt Horrors are on their last freaking legs. But boy, has this test gone on a while. These two are still fighting. It's been goddamn ages. Ultimately though, the Rat Ogres are the ones who are able to take the victory here. So Crypt Horrors are the worst unit in this competition. Rat Ogres not far behind though, as this was very close and this test was run a few times and ultimately Rat Ogres came out on top. So they are not the worst unit, that's the Crypt Horrors. But can they beat any of the units above them that are considerably more expensive than them, such as the good old Stone Trolls? What the hell was that one doing? He was doing all kinds of flips. Plenty of comedy knockbacks in this competition, it seems. So, Stone Trolls and Rat Ogres. Stone Trolls have come into their own as a real damage dealer unit for the Greenskin since being added in the recent DLC. They've got good armor-piercing damage, they've got decent armor themselves, and still the troll regeneration. So it's going to be a tall order for the Rat Ogres, which as you can see, is looking pretty bleak for them. They're putting out some fair damage on some of them, to be honest. They're doing some work, but ultimately not going to have enough in the tank to be able to take out these beefy Stone Trolls, or anyone else more expensive than them for that matter. So Rat Ogres not far behind the Crypt Horrors, taking the second to last place. Now there is another unit that costs 1100, and that is the Firebark Elders. They cost the same as the Stone Trolls, but of course have a very different approach to the Stone Trolls, being far more defensive and supportive to their allies, which of course doesn't help them much here in a one-on-one with Stone Trolls. And Treekin, of course, as a unit themselves, even the regular ones, they're not known as damage dealers, they don't do a lot of damage at all, but they are very, very good at holding back infantry, which is of course their main purpose. So, a bit out of their depth here, but they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing to the Stone Trolls, really. I want to try and say something good about them, but they're just really not doing anything. Stone Trolls getting War now as well. That's going to hurt them even more. So the Treekin, not really built for this kind of competition and not really great at fighting other monsters, especially any with armor piercing, which to be honest is most of them. So try not to get your Treekin involved with other monsters. They tend to not do too well. Stone Trolls though, looking strong, looking good so far, beating all the units that are the same price or below them. But can they take out anyone that is above them? Some of the Treekin here actually have started to do some decent damage to the Stone Trolls, got some down to half health before they all got destroyed, so not a terrible performance, but not a good matchup, obviously. Now what about a matchup for the Stone Trolls against the Fimir? These are the Mist Stalkers. These are the Regiment of Renown ones. They don't have the anti-large bonus. These actually performed better than the anti-large ones, due to their superior stats, I guess. But there is a fair big price difference here. The Fimir costs 1600, so that's 500 more than the old Stone Trolls, which kind of probably says what's going to happen here. But the Stone Trolls giving it back. They're not going down without a fight. Oh, a kick to the chops. Little Anderson Silva teep kick there. The Stone Troll not messing around. So damage so far fairly even. The Stone Troll's putting out a good amount of damage. The armor sundering of the Fimir is going to help them out against these Stone Trolls, of course. They're down to 40 armor fighting these. The War's just gone off as well. Can that help them out? Can they do it? Can the Stone Troll... No, they can't. They've all routed away. So the leadership becoming a problem for the Stone Trolls there. They still all got about half health, so they should be fighting longer if they had more leadership. But unfortunately, they can't handle the next units above them price-wise. So these are the bottom 4 units. So price really dictated performance here. The 4 bottom units are the 4 cheapest units in the competition. Crypt Horrors unable to beat anyone in this. Rat Ogres able to beat only the Crypt Horrors. As I said, those two were the cheapest units though at only 800, up to 1100 for the Firebark Elders, who were able to beat those two, but the Stone Trolls was able to beat all 3 of them. That wasn't good English, but you know what the hell I'm trying to say. On to the mid tier, the mid 3. We'll start with the Fimir Warriors that we just looked at. They cost 1600, which is the same price as these fellas, Lamprey's Revenge. Both coming in on the charge here. Both have a small charge bonus, 20 something, nothing too special, but it'll help them out. Lamprey's Revenge, more of a defensive unit overall, of course, much like the Rotting Prometheans, but they do have that constant missile attack, so that really helps their damage output. Fairly even so far. The Miststalker's armor sundering, helping out with that crab armor. That big 120 armor is down to 90, so that helps. That certainly helps. 90 still a lot of armor, though. Crabs and Fimir throwing down whatever the hell Fimir are. I'm not quite sure what race they are. Are they a troll? Are they an ogre? Are they a weird lizard man? I don't know. Are they just their own thing? Somebody's got to know. Fairly even in this battle. Maybe edging it for the Lamprey's Revenge, though, especially here. The crabs do regenerate as well, so that gives them some extra staying power. So it's close. These two cost the same, so it's going to be close, hopefully. Neither of these two are really designed for taking on other monsters. They don't have anti-large bonuses. And the crabs do have the advantage of being undead, so they won't rout, which is the problem for the Fimir right now, as they are about to run home. So a clean sweep for the crabs in this one, and fairly comfortably. They've all got about half health left. Alright, what about two other units we haven't really seen yet? The Cohort of Huatal costing 1700, one of the most expensive in the competition, and the Eyes of the Desert, who are one of the cheaper units at 1350. The Eyes of the Desert have that ranged attack, which they used, and a charged defense, so taking away the charge bonus of the cohort and doing a fair bit of damage before they've even reached them. Could that be enough to allow the Eyes of the Desert to outlast them? Maybe. They're going to be unbreakable as they're undead, and of course the cohort won't be. We'll see if it can make a difference. The damage, though, starting to add up for the cohort. Some of the further back Eyes of the Desert Sepulchral Stalkers are able to still fire their missile attack as well, so that's kind of extra damage, much like the Lamprey's Revenge. The damage starting to even out, though. Maybe slowing down a bit for the Eyes of the Desert. Can they pull off the upset here? I don't think you see the Cohort of Huatal very often, in online battles anyway. They don't seem to get too much use. There may be a reason for that, we'll see. Some of them looking a bit bleak against these Sepulchral Stalkers. Bit of wavering and crumbling from the Eyes. Still fairly even though. More not so much here. Looking bad for the Eyes of the Desert. They're on their last legs. Looks like the cohort might be turning it around. They've just got that little bit more health. A few more models in their units. Oh, maybe not over here. It's kind of even. They've won one. The lizards are up one. Oh, it's getting close. It's a fair old effort from the Eyes of the Desert, though. Nearly beating a unit that costs 350 more than them. The lizards have won two at this point. Last ones are looking close, but probably gonna be lizard victories. Down they go. That's 3-2 for the lizards. Looks like, oh, they could make it. Maybe they could bring one back. They've got a few models left here if they look alive. No, they're going down. They're going down. So lizards victorious here, able to beat only just the much cheaper unit. Alright, what about the Butchers of Kalkengard against those Fimir warriors again? The Fimir are 100 cheaper than the Butchers, so not a big difference. They're not very heavy apparently because they've all gone flying. The Butchers don't have a lot of armor, so the armor sundering of the Fimir is going to really help them out. Could potentially allow them to do a lot more damage to the Butchers. The Butchers do regenerate though, so any damage you put on them, they'll be slowly gaining it back, which could make life hard for the Fimir as they're going to be a little bit more tanky. They've got good melee defense as well, the Butchers, so they might be able to out-tank the Fimir and their armor sundering. But being Norscan, those Miststalkers don't have the fantastic leadership that other elite units might. They seem to be edging it in the damage as well. Or maybe they've done about the same damage, but again, that regeneration just keeps coming back, making it look like the Fimir haven't done that much, but really it's just the regeneration keeping the Butchers in the game. Damage piling up on the Norscans. Wavering over here. This one's been pretty badly defeated. The other one's hanging in there alright. Doing some decent damage, but in a price comparison, maybe not so much. Fimir wavering, Fimir broken, Fimir down. Couldn't beat the Butchers. Not really a surprise though. They're horrible. But the Norscans were able to put some hurt on the Tomb Kings. It started much like the Tomb Kings versus Lizardmen. It looks good for the Tomb Kings to start with, but as the battle wears on, they lose steam and can't hang on, putting the Eyes of the Desert at the bottom of the mid-tier, which makes sense given their price. They're considerably cheaper than all of those above them. And what about the Norscans then versus the Lizardmen, versus the Cohort? Can they defeat them? The cohort are 100 more expensive than them, but is that going to make a big difference? The armor sundering of the Fimir is of course going to come into play, but they also have magical attacks, and the cohort have a physical resistance, which will mean nothing against these Fimir. So the combination of the reduced armor and of that not being able to use their physical resistance may really hurt the cohort here, and they are taking a lot of damage already. This one over here is losing, this one's losing, this one's fairly even, not too bad there. Looks like the cohort might be winning this one maybe. Lizard men maybe close on this one as well. We'll see how it goes though. Looks very, very close so far. That Crookswheel got bonked on the head and down he goes. Is that the story of this matchup? It's slowly starting to look like it. Of course though, the Norscan leadership could let them down. Who have you got? Who's your bet on? What do you reckon? If you said Norska, you'd be correct. They are able to beat the more expensive cohort of Huatal. 3 of them have broken here. And you can see these Fimir still have a fair amount of health left. There's a couple of these where they've won really well. Some are pretty close, but there's a few where they've absolutely stomped them. These ones very, very close. Maybe the Lizards will be able to win 1 or 2. Maybe they'll be able to restore some pride. Or maybe not. One in the far distance is gone. This one's wavering. Down they go. So Lizard Men not able to beat the Norskans, and that gives us the ranking of the mid 3. So at the bottom we have the Eyes of the Desert, which makes sense as they are considerably cheaper than everyone else above them. Surprisingly though, then in 5th place is the cohort of Huatal, who are one of the most expensive units going at 1700, topped by the Mist Stalkers, who are a little bit cheaper than them. None of these able to beat any of the top 3 left: the Butchers of Kalkengard, the Lamprey's Revenge, and the Summoners of Rage. Don't do that again. I am not made for chaos voices. So let us crack on to the top 3 and see which one of these monstrous infantries is the best. So let's kick it off with the Butchers and the Summoners of Rage. Who can do it? Who's got what it takes? The Summoners are a little bit more expensive by a few hundred than the Butchers. Butcher going flying already. And I think that is one small advantage for the Dragon Ogres, that they're heavy enough to never be sent flying like all the other monstrous infantries. Is that going to help them out a lot? Putting some feral damage on these Butchers here. The Butchers do regenerate, but whether that's going to matter too much here is another question. Now the Dragon Ogres do have their own Chain Lightning spell, but it's a bit difficult to use without hurting themselves, so not going to be using that in this. Maybe they won't even need it though. Looking pretty good on these Butchers. Butchers putting some damage back into them, but it's not looking like it's going to be enough to put them away. Butchers, of course, being Beastmen. Leadership isn't exactly on their side, and there we go. All of a sudden, Beastmen breaking all over the place. Summoners of Rage have defeated the Butchers. So the Butchers didn't quite have it in them to defeat the Summoners. Can they put away these crusty crabs, though? Butchers again going flying. This could actually be hurting them quite a lot because those models are out of combat, and it's leaving the other models outnumbered. And I guess the Prometheans don't have this problem either, much like the Summoners. They can't be knocked over and sent flying, so a little bit of an advantage there. Of course, they have the missile attack, which did a little bit of damage on the approach, and will continue on for the rest of the fight. There's usually one of those little pirates on the backs of these crabs firing away. There you go, you can see them. But Minotaur's giving it back. Like we said, Minotaur's got that regeneration. They've also got that shield, which is going to help them out with some of these missiles that are coming their way. Neither of them really designed for taking down large units, though. No anti-large bonuses. And it seems like the Lampreys are just sneaking ahead in the health. Damage fairly slow in this fight, though. Probably due to both units' regeneration. It's keeping them fighting for longer. Both have decent melee defense as well. The crabs with a lot more armor, though. And while their melee attacks aren't going to be as strong as the Butchers, they do have that handgun on the back, which is really going to help them out. It adds a lot of power. Oh, another bull down. Another bull down. Is he getting up? He's alright. He's not out of it yet. Oh, it's close. It's a goddamn close fight. Feels like maybe the Prometheans are edging it. They've got a little bit more health than the Butchers. But of course, the Butchers' health will come back, so... Oh no, over here the Butchers have been thoroughly murdered. Fairly comfortably on that side. Butchers wavering. Crabs wavering. Although they're only crumbling, they don't rout, of course. Another advantage for them. Butchers, just levitating Butchers everywhere. Can the butchers do it? They've lost a couple. They'll need to win the rest. They might do this one. They got a 2-on-1 here. Come on. Chop that crab down. Seafood time. Oh no. Butchers. Gone, gone. Gone, 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 gone. Butchers are down. Lamprey's Revenge putting the butchers into 3rd place. There we go. Who would have thought, eh? The crabs going into the final. That means they need to now just take out the old Summoners of Rage and they will be king. Can they do it? They are a bit cheaper than the Summoners, but they've got that combo. They've got some reasonable damage output. They've got the toughness. Dragon Ogres anti-large though. Some early volleys coming in from the Lampreys. The charge ensues. Crab smash. Fairly even. No big damage from either side. Slow output all around. Both units very tough. Very good at surviving. Oh, in this one though, maybe not. Crab's getting pretty smashed up here. And this one as well. Looks like the gap is widening in the health. Somebody's lost a zombie. Zombie down, zombie down. That must mean there's a dead crab somewhere. There's one there, okay. Crabs are dying. Crabs are dying slowly. Oh, dying quickly over here. They're crumbling away. It's not looking too good. Looks like the Summoners are going for a clean smash. Lamprey's Revenge did everyone else in, but they can't touch the Summoners of Rage. Looking like they're the best. Down they go. It looks like crabs back on the menu, boys. The Summoners of Rage taking the win. They are the best Monstorous Infantry in Total War Warhammer 2. So the Butchers of Kalkengard unable to beat the top two, the Lamprey's Revenge or the Summoners of Rage. Lamprey's able to beat everybody except those Summoners of Rage, and reigning supreme overall as one might have expected, the Summoners of Rage are the best Monstrous Infantry. But there is a couple of interesting things to be found in these results. Here's the rankings from 10th to 1st place and the prices of each of the units. If we look at the bottom 5 units, you'll notice that price really dictates performance. The cheapest 2 units are at the bottom, followed by the next 2 most expensive units, and then the next most expensive unit, the Eyes of the Desert. And into the top 5 though is where it gets a little bit all over the place. The Summoners of Rage are predictably at the top, as they are the most expensive unit by 300 more than the next expensive units, the Butchers and the Cohort, who both cost 1700. Yet at the bottom of that top 5 pile is the Cohort, the 1700 cost unit that's been beaten by the Miststalkers and Lamprey's Revenge, who both are cheaper. Now you could say that the Cohort are an anti-infantry unit. They're not really designed to be taken on other monsters. Well, neither are any of the units above them, apart from the Summoners. They're all anti-infantry units really, because they don't have anti-large bonuses. One thing that does seem a little bit out of place to me is the 1600 cost Lamprey's Revenge beating 2 units that are more expensive than them. And the Vampire Coast is a ranged faction primarily, yet they have one of the best monster units in the game, better than the Beastmen, a faction you think would have the strongest beasts. They're the freaking Beastmen, for God's sake. Seems to me like the Lamprey's Revenge might be overperforming for their price, or maybe they're just not expensive enough. Maybe the Cohort of Huatal have problems too, maybe they're too expensive, maybe they're underperforming, or maybe their role is just very niche and they're good for taking out ethereal units with their magical attacks. But there we go. There's the best Monstrous Infantries in Total War Warhammer 2, topped off by the Summoners of Rage. Now I know some people don't like the Regiments of Renown being in these tests, so let's do a quick top 5 of the non-Regiments of Renown and a few other miscellaneous tests. So we'll kick it off with the Lizardmen, who have made it into the top 5 with the Sacred Croxagores and the Sepulchral Stalkers, both regular versions, non-Regiments of Renown. Sepulchral Stalkers of course got their ranged attack and their charge defense, which has helped them out against these Croxagores, allowed them to put some decent damage on them early, but can the old Crocos turn it around after kind of shamefully coming 5th in the main test? We'll see what they can do with their golden boxing gloves. They're getting a bit beaten up. Sepulchral Stalkers are of course unbreakable as well, which is going to hurt those Crocs. And it's looking kind of predictably bleak at this point for the Crocos, and they are indeed going to rout and not be able to hold off those dastardly Tomb Kings. So 1 up for the Tomb Kings, 1 down for the Croxagores. two other top 5 units, the Dragon Ogres and the Fimir Warriors with great weapons. So the Dragon Ogres, obviously, the long-lost cousins of the Summoners of Rage, and the Fimir Warriors are the anti-large ones. So better than the Miststalkers in a way, they have the anti-large bonus, which will help them out in this kind of competition. Fairly even in this fight so far. Dragon Ogres are a bit more expensive, once again, than everyone else, so they're going to have the advantage. The more money has been poured into them. Fimir getting bonked on the head. Can they turn it around? Oh, some Fimir returning fire. Didn't like their friend getting bonked on the head. But the leadership of the Fimir, not good enough. A typical Norscan leadership, letting them down. Dragon Ogres supreme. But they will be challenged by the Minotaurs with great weapons. Let's see if they can take on the Lizards. They're about a similar price. About 100 more for the Minotaurs, I think. 1350 to 1250. So only a little bit of a price difference. Good damage from the Minotaurs so far. These Crocs just seem to have fairly slow damage output, which is really hurting them in all of these fights. Regiments of Renown or otherwise, they just can't get the damage done quick enough. It may indeed just be that they're a very niche unit. They have magical attacks, which is obviously fantastic against anything with a physical resistance. So maybe that's just where their true calling is. If you're facing the Vampire Counts or the Vampire Coast with all their ethereal units, that's where the Sacred Croxagors will shine. Okay, what about Tomb Kings and Norska? Fimir and Sepulchral Boys. Who's got it? Again, that missile attack, that charge defense, gonna help them out. Anti-large bonus for both sides. Tomb Kings looking alright so far. Got some good damage off on the Fimir already. Can they hang in there, or will their leadership let them down again? Tomb Kings, of course, unbreakable. That's gonna hurt the Norscan chances. Looking like the Fimir Warriors, though, might be pushing on ahead in terms of damage. A little bit of crumbling from the Tomb Kings. More crumbling. It's getting close. Norska have won one. Can they win any more? I think they've just won another one, and another and another. They've done it. A victory for the Norskans, which pushes them into the top 3, leaving the Lizardmen at the bottom. They are the 5th best unit. The Tomb King Sepulchral Stalkers are the 4th best unit, and one of these two is going to be the 3rd best unit. Is it the Minotaurs? Is it the Norskans? Good damage from both sides so far. A little bit in favour of the Minotaurs, perhaps. The Fimir Warriors giving it back. It's fairly even. Over here, it's pretty damn bang on even. Half health down for both sides. Edging it are the Minotaurs, though. But will their leadership hold up? Although neither of these factions have great leadership, the Norskans or the Beastmen. So that could be nullified for both sides. It'll be kind of even. Whoever hits harder will probably win this one. Big hit from the Fimir there. Trying to show how hard he hits. Oh, Minotaur hitting it back, though. And that kind of determined it because the Minotaurs have crushed the Norskans here. Maybe the Norskans can still get 1 or 2 back. Nope. Maybe this one if they're lucky. But the Norskans are going into 3rd place. The Minotaurs fighting for that 1st place against the Dragon Ogres now. Who's got it? Who's the best non-Regiment of Renown unit? So here we go. Chaos Dragon Ogres, Beastmen, Minotaurs. Can the Beastmen win something? As I said, they are the Beastmen. They're supposed to have some strong beasts. Show us your beasts. That is not a good start, Minotaurs. They've been sent flying already. Like I mentioned earlier, those Dragon Ogre models never get knocked over. So that really helps them out in a way, because it means they can knock enemy units away, outnumbering whatever's left. Not for very long. Could give them that little edge, though. Good damage for both sides. Minotaurs certainly giving the Dragon Ogres a run for their money, or maybe not so much here. Minotaurs getting smashed. Chaos probably got the better leadership overall. We got some Minotaur wavering. They're struggling to hang in there. The poor old Minotaurs wavering down there. This one might be able to do it. Probably not. Oh, they're falling like flies. Bulls are falling like flies. Minotaurs down. Minotaurs down. Dragon Ogres reigning supreme once again. They are the best of the best in all categories. Regiment of Renown, non-Regiment of Renown. Doesn't matter. Chaos Dragon Ogres are the best. And they're able to top all other Monstrous Infantries, pretty much. But what about a few other monstrous kind of units that aren't necessarily infantries, but are still interesting to see if they can top them? How about the Royal Altdorf Griffites? Can the regular Dragon Ogres top the Regiment of Renown, best cavalry for the Empire, and one of the best cavs in the game? Both anti-large units. How will they fare? Taking a lot of damage on that charge. Griffites opening up with some big damage. Can they keep it going, though, and take out these Dragon Ogres? They are a little bit more expensive than the Dragon Ogres, so they should have the advantage. Whoa, one little slap from that Griffite. That Dragon Ogre went down. It's not looking good for the Dragon Ogres. They're taking a fair old pounding, but they're definitely giving a pounding back. Griffite's low on health as well. Oh, it's getting close. Griffite's losing this one. Only slightly, a little bit more health. They've lost this one on the end. Dragon Ogres have done it. They've put away at least one of the Griffites. Wavering the other ones. Broken one there, broken another one, broken another one. They're just breaking them all. Dragon Ogres breaking at the same time there. They've won one at the end, the Griffites. So it looks like 3-1 there and a draw in the middle. A narrow win for the Dragon Ogres, able to beat the Griffites. Can they beat Bretonnian Hippogriff Knights though? A flying monstrous cavalry. Now this is a unit I nearly included in the main test for this, as they are obviously quite monstrous, but they are not an infantry. So it didn't really make sense to include them. Can they take out the Dragon Ogres though? They cost 2,000, so that's about 350 more expensive than these Dragon Ogres, I think. So a good chunk more expensive, but is it going to make too much of a difference? Not looking like it so far. They're taking a fair old pounding from the Dragon Ogres. They do have the advantage of flying in as well, which means the Dragon Ogres can't charge and get their charge bonus. So that helps them out. But it doesn't look like it's going to help them out enough, because they are running out of juice pretty quick. Dragon Ogres are just too mean. Not giving these Hippogriffs any breathing room. One's wavering down the end. And it looks like we're going Night-Night Hippogriffs. So even the more expensive Hippogriffs, by about 350, can't beat the Dragon Ogres. But that's probably because they're more of an anti-infantry unit than anti-large. Dragon Ogres, of course, all about taking out other monsters. And we did try a few max rank tests. These are max ranked out Minotaurs with great weapons against the Summoners of Rage. We thought maybe they might be able to beat them. Maxed out Minotaurs came to about 1,800, so still about 200 less than the Summoners of Rage. They're putting some good old damage though on these Summoners. Will they be able to do it? Can somebody beat the goddamn Summoners? Nice cut down from that Minotaur there. Losing on that end. Pretty even some of the other ones. Maybe winning this one. Maybe winning this one. Maybe not. Fairly even. Looks like they're losing this one as that Minotaur flies by. Oh, they're flying around all over the place. Getting cut down. Those, oh dear. Oh dear, those ones got murdered. Oh, Dragon Ogre's broken here though. They've broken one. Minotaurs have done it at least once. Just and just. They've lost another one on the end. Might lose this one. Might win it very close. Oh, Dragon Ogre's taking the others in the distance. And a double break there. So both lost. So a win for the Summoners, but very, very close. Upgraded Minotaurs nearly able to take out the Summoners. We did try a few other max ranked units, but none of them were able to take out the Summoners. They just beat goddamn everybody. So there you go. Who's the best Monstrous Infantry? Now you know. It's any kind of Dragon Ogre, basically. I hope you've enjoyed this and that it's helped you learn some units. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the future.